had an opportunity to see him this morning. He is in excellent spirits. All of his vital signs are entirely normal. He's on almost no medication. And at this point in time, he really probably does not require an intensive level of medical care. He's doing extremely well. Mr. McCarthy is also doing extremely well, and he is complaining a little bit of soreness in the liver area, which is a little bit understandable. He has a mild elevation of his temperature and of his white blood count, which would be expected after a liver injury, but he otherwise is doing extremely well. Mr. Brady is much improved over his initial prognosis. He still has his endotracheal tube in. However, he is responsive and is moving the right side of his body in response to command. As anticipated, his tube will be removed later today. We are guarded as to his prognosis, but his progress thus far has really been extraordinary.
Are you suggesting that Mr. Brady understands your directives or questions to him and responds to them?
Yes.
Dr. O'Leary, I take it then that the prognosis for the President's complete recovery is excellent and you expect it?
That is correct.
Well, how can we expect that?
How soon for his complete recovery? Okay, hospital course is does vary by patients, probably in the range of a week or two, but that'll depend upon his specific course, and then after that probably a couple of months until he is totally back to riding horses.
Dr. O'Leary, has the President been using the telephone? Has he been in contact with the White House?
Well, there have been a number of people from the White House in to see the President. This morning he is, as I say, fully alert, joking back and forth. I don't believe so. Well, the question was, how soon can the President put in a full-time day? That's a little bit speculative. He's obviously able to function right now, and in terms of his thought process, capacity to make decisions and so forth, he can probably put in a full-time day-to-day as long as he gets a nap this afternoon.
How many chances for post-op complications such as pneumonia or adolescence?
At this point in time, I would be very surprised to see such complications develop. He is doing as well as any patient who has had an operation in his chest could do.
Doctor, has the President at all asked or has he been told about the condition of his press secretary?
He is not aware of the number of the other people who were shot and injured at this time. He did not ask in my presence. I can't say whether he's asked anyone else, but he is not aware of it as of this morning. Yes.
Doctor, could you say that the President talking so much and joking so much is this normal, or is he on some kind of high, or why is he talking and joking so much?
I don't think he's on any high, and I don't think we put him there on the basis of any of his drugs. He's a very outgoing, very vital person. From what I've seen of him, this is quite in character.
Does the President have much pain? What is his comfort?
The President is requiring almost no pain medication at all. He is, tough in a good sense.
Doctor, is there any indication at this point of any brain damage that Jim Brady might have suffered?
Well, the bullet, entered just lateral to his left eye and really traversed across to the right posterior skull, where it stopped and it was removed. There was fairly extensive damage of the right hemisphere of the brain. However, that is his non-dominant side, and the important area that controls not only his motor movement on his right side, but all of his speech and mental processes are on the left side. There was some minimal amount of damage involving the left side of the brain. In patients like this, the spectrum of possible outcomes is very, very wide, and it'd be really highly speculative right now to guess of what will happen to him.
Dr. O'Leary, it does seem rather strange that you have not told. Just a moment. It does seem rather strange that you have not told the President of the condition of his own press secretary. Is that a medical decision? Are you concerned about it? Are you concerned over the President's reaction?
No, I think you have to remember the president has been through a little bit of an experience himself, and our general experience is that we don't force feed information to people. Rather, we respond when they feel ready to deal with an answer by asking a question.
In your presence, did he ask any questions or make any specific requests?
No, I can relate to you that Mr. Knopfziger related to him that he'd be happy to know that the government was running normally, and he responded, what makes you think I'd be happy about that? Well, if you've ever been in a recovery room or an intensive care setting, it's really not very conducive to good sleep. The lights are on and there's a lot of activity, and monitors going and people running blood tests and checking vital signs. It's not peaceful sleep. So I'm not surprised he was awake. Most people would have been awake most of the night.
Has he been curious about his own medical condition? How soon he would recover, anxious about something?
No, I don't think he seems anxious at all. He's had a few questions, but nothing particularly definitive. I think he's happy with the care he's getting. He's getting a lot of attention from the nursing staff and from the doctors.
Are there plans to move him to a military hospital, and if so, where?
That determination has not been made, and will be a judgment, of course, of the family and the White House staff.
The President is making a number of witty remarks and jokes. For you to say that he has not yet asked about the condition of his press secretary or anybody else who's been hurt in that shooting?
That's what I said.
President asked about his improvement about his
has he been briefed about? He had some curiosity as to who the assassin was. He was provided a little bit of information along those lines. You have to remember he's coming out of major surgery. He's been up all day and all night, and I don't think you'd expect him to have a total overview of the world at this point. I am really stunned by how alert and with it that he is.
What drugs is he on now? Tell us some more of his clips. Perhaps you have some more.
Perhaps some of the others could relate those to you. They're quite a number around.
His blood pressure and his heart rate.
His blood pressure has been running about 130/80, which is totally normal. His pulse rate's about 70. You and I would do well to have such a good pulse rate. Temperature's normal.
You're confused as to when the President actually knew that he was hit.
Okay, we did chat a little bit about that this morning. He really did not appreciate that he had been shot until he was actually in the emergency room itself. As you remember, he was pushed down. He thought he might have bruised or cracked a rib, and that was his belief, at least at the time he entered the emergency room. And so it was only after he was in the emergency room that he realized
Did
it.
he not suffer much pain or discomfort after the shot itself?
Well, he knew that he had been hurt in some fashion because he was experiencing some pain in the chest wall, but he did not equate that with a bullet wound.
Did he know any more of his thoughts at the time of the shot was fired?
No, he did not.
To clean up one of your earlier answers, is the President aware at all that anybody else is wounded?
I don't believe that he is. The President is receiving one antibiotic, which is a cephalosporin, and he will probably come off of that within the next 24 hours. That's routine care for the patient, and he has a as-needed pain medication, which he isn't needing very much, and that's it.
What time did they wait to walk around?
I don't believe that she's there this morning. She
Doctor, you said it'll be about a week, perhaps 2 weeks before he comes to the hospital. Can you give us an idea of whether he's walking soon or exactly what kind of progress you expect him to be making?
That's a little bit hard to guess, but I would not be surprised to see him up walking around within the next couple of days. He's in such a great.
Is there the possibility of going back to California to recuperate there?
He said he really didn't want to go back there until he could ride a horse for a little bit.
How do you explain medically a person being shot in the chest, bullets in his lung, and being able to, after that time, walk to the hospital without somebody knowing that if that had happened, it seems remarkable.
Well, I think it would seem remarkable to any of us, but I think we've seen things like that before. One gets quite a surge of adrenaline under these circumstances, and we do things that we might not otherwise be able to do if we realize we've been shot or otherwise injured.
Can you tell us more about Brady's response? Is it from light? Is it the pinpricks? Is he semi-conscious? Is he showing any sign of semi-consciousness?
Well, I think his level of consciousness is reflected by virtue of his responsiveness. He is asked to move his right arm, he moves it. He's asked to move his right leg, he moves it. He is clearly receptive to command. He's obviously not able to talk or reflect other levels of alertness until his endotracheal tube comes out. His eyes are open and his pupils are small and reactive to light. Very good sign.
The bullet been removed from Brady's brain?
We believe so. The whole bullet was removed intact.
You said he could move his right leg and his right arm. Is he able to move his left leg and his left arm? Is there any paralysis that has appeared?
Well, again, we will not be able to assess that until we get a little bit further downstream. The left side of the body is dominantly controlled by the right side of the brain, and so we're not surprised that if he's going to have a level of impairment, it would probably affect the left side of the body.
The President asked specifically who was it who shot me, and was there an answer given?
Well, he didn't phrase it in quite that fashion, but he showed some interest as to who was the person in terms of his demographic characteristics or what have you.
Were you told who it was?
He was simply told of it. He was a young man who came from a good family, and which was about the extent of it.
How did the President respond to that?
I can't remember his specific response. It was, basically non-committal, I think. He's still on IV to receive his antibiotic. That's all. I really am not sure. He would probably not need a catheter pretty shortly, if not right now.
One more question. Mr. Reagan is a 70-year old man, and he received a bullet. He didn't feel it. He didn't feel that he was hurt, and he has been guilty. I think that Mr. Reagan has a spirit of a manly man. Don't you think that is what the country needing leadership to counteract the expansion of communist, this kind of leadership and kind of manly man?
I don't think I understand all of the question. I think that his response to the injury was appropriate. He perceived that he had pain, and he has really performed through all of this, as I said yesterday, like a physiologically young person. His responses have been totally normal.
Dr. O'Leary, if you think it is medically wise to withhold information about the other victims of this shooting, do you also feel it advisable that official information and problems be withheld as well for the President's medical benefit?
That's not really a judgment for me to make. That's up to the White House staff.
From a medical point of view, is it in the President's best interest not to have official stresses at this point?
I think his primary limitation is a physical limitation because of what he's been through. But I think he could use a little bit of sleep, probably, and I'm sure he'll get that in the course of the day. But he is a very cool-headed man, and what might be stressful for you or me is not necessarily stressful for him.
Let's take the one question.
Are there any possible